Shalom, first and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to yahawah, bahasham, yahawashi, bahasham, quadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, a great millstone, who are teaching this truth in sincerity. And a shout out to Yakim and yahawah that are tuning in and listening. For USA Shalom, barak atham to your hopeful elect. So anyhow, just take a look at things that are going on, especially with now that the slander is coming out against us and against what we're teaching, because, we've been shining a light on this, and that's why you're seeing all kinds of alternative media pop up, because Esau's telling on himself, and others are blowing the whistle on him. So you know that, Gomer and all his bands are starting to show up a lot more. Now you find out, though, that not only have they been looting oil from Syria, but they're also looting oil from Libya, So Gomer and all his bands are very much involved. And did Scripture not say Libya, all of them, with shield and helmet, Gomer and all his bands? I mean, that's talking about all this stealing, man, the looting that's going on out there in Syria and in the rest of those parts. Then you got Persia, all of them as well. So pretty much what's going on, man, is they are all coveting the oil fields. Well, maybe not so much Persia, but because Persia has another way of trading. But nonetheless, though, the Saudi oil, Saudi Arabia is also involved with it. You see how they're all fighting over the oil fields, and that's pretty much the killing fields. So their Most High is drawing the men of war near, and this is playing out in our time. So at the same time, you got the slander against us, these Amalekites. Amalek is now coming out of the woodworks because, now they're making their moves because they're the ones that run YouTube. They're the ones that run just about everything, who your Freemasons are, all these secret society run by the cabal, the Amalekites, because you heard on the fake news that that officer claimed to be Jewish and that he was a Holocaust survivor. So it's coming out now because they despise the fact that we now know who we are. We've identified ourselves, and we've identified them, But simply, we've never attacked any of them. The only thing we've ever done is cut them with the word, the words of this prophecy, in that they don't fit the biblical description. That's all we've ever done, is just point out the obvious. And we told our people to repent and stop worshiping Esau. Stop worshiping what they like to call white people. Stop worshiping those images, because they're all images of Baal. And Baal, modern day, is Esau. That's who Caesar Borgia is. The total image of Caesar Borgia, a wimpy character. That's not who yahawashi is. He's the son of man. He's the son of David, a warrior. So he wouldn't be this wimpy guy. He's not like E.T., where he's like, be good. Ouch. But that's the way these Christians have painted him. Like he's just some wimpy character that he just loves everybody, doesn't he? He just loves everybody. He's coming to save everyone. I don't know of such a person that exists. Never did exist. But I do know someone that was persecuted and he was murdered that came to save his people, who were warriors, by the way. That's who the tribe of Yahawah was. We were warriors, man. All Israelites were warriors, man. We weren't just some fucking wimpy characters, But we've been in such a docile state, with all these bread and circuses and all that, that we were made to believe that we were supposed to be wimpy, supposed to love everybody, even though they fucking oppressed us. Because that's what stretched Christianity has taught, which is why most people just say that there is no God, And our people start getting mixed up in Islam and all them other things because of Esau and the Roman Catholic Church. Because let's face it, the Roman Catholic Church controls all those so-called religions. And really, the Bible's all about heritage and history. Modern-day history can also be recorded in the Bible, very easily so. Because we know who modern-day Basra is, and we definitely know what the neighbor cities are. And Damascus, still to this day, is in existence. But yet, that's coming to its end soon. They're coveting the oil fields in Syria, and they're doing everything they can to destroy Syria. And the least of the flock, Amalek, is drawing everybody into this war, because these so-called Jews are the most hated. Nobody really gets along with an Amalekite. They just don't call themselves that. But, man, you can catch it, man. Most people do not want to fucking deal with them. You know, they're the most stuck up, they're the greatest piece of shit that there ever was, man. I know, my dad was married to an Amalekite. That was one of his concubines. And it was the most miserable years of his life, man. You know, to be married into that, you know. But unfortunately, though, you know, like everything else, though, she was no longer in his life. That was a good thing. And, man, she died a horrible death. She was a victim of hepatitis C, or was she really a victim? No, man, these gutter rats, man, they suffer all the plagues thereof because of the fact that baldness really hits these Amalekites big time. But just, man, nobody wants to fucking be around them, man. They're the worst fucking people to be around. You know, they give us names like Indian Giver. But they're the Indians in the essence of being savages, because that's what the term Indian means. You know? Heaven forbid you should ever have to borrow from one of them. I mean, my dad's told me some stories about, you know, my stepmom and her family, and if you ever had to borrow from them, they let you know what a piece of shit you are. You know, you can't even understand a fucking word they say because they speak such gibberish, man. Oh, man, that's not a holy language. It's a bastard tongue, and these bastards dwelling in Ashdod are the ones drawing everybody into this war. You know, but we're starting to see things turn up. We've exposed them, and now they're coming out of the woodworks. Because now you're starting to see them fake the news, just like they've always done before. You know, but nobody believes the chemical attacks in Douma was Bashar al-Assad. And Bashar al-Assad had also recently stated, though, that he knows about the illegal oil trading. He recently blocked a shipment going into Turkey. He's the one that actually exposed the fact that the United States is selling stolen oil into Turkey. You know, and that's just it, though, is all that's out there. So it's very hard to fake the news anymore for them. But now that that's starting to, they're going to start using the news to come against us. We just got to go through it, man. And you can see the famine of the word is right around the corner with everything that they're doing to stop YouTube streams. I mean, I already got the warning strike on my channel, you know, so anytime it could go down. I've already made alternatives with Daily Motion, you know, which I often put it in the description box down below on how to find that and find my videos there, because I try to get them on there almost every time I put one on here. Because I don't know how much longer this is going to go, you know. They're trying to shut down the word. And a lot of times when I get buzzed and all that, if I don't download it right away, it's gone, you know. Especially things that, you know, prove that the whole Jersey thing was staged. I can't even play those videos, but we know the whole thing was staged. They always have crisis actors. You're not even allowed to use that term fake news anymore, you know. Or Sandy hoax. You can't find any of those videos anymore that prove that the Sandy Hook shooting was nothing more than a staged event. Or, that, you know, anybody catches the lies. Remember Red Silver J? His videos that would point the obvious about how they're lying to you? You can't find those videos anymore. They took him down long ago. And there's many others that they've taken down, so you can't even call bullshit bullshit. But nonetheless, though, the famine of the word is right around the corner. And when that happens, you know martial law is there. I'm already dealing with the famine because of the fact that, well, it's not that I don't have enough water, it's just that I'm pretty much dehydrated because the place that I'm staying at, obviously I can't play videos like this. I'm in the car because it's the only place I can do that, and I have to do it within a certain amount of time just to get onto the computer. The place I'm staying at is much worse than the first place I was staying at. So that's why I really hope that this deal goes forward in the next day or two. So that way I can get set up and then pretty much, you know, ride this thing out, you know. Nonetheless, this whole you know, going homeless thing has taught me to always be on the move, you know, because at any time you would have to change stations. You know, it's kind of like what they do with the CB, you know, when, you know, people are listening, you just kind of guide them to another channel. Well, isn't that what shifted from YouTube to Daily Motion is? You're just changing the channel. Either way, though, you know, eventually we're all going to be dehydrated in the essence that we're not going to be getting out of the water so easily. So we're going to have to stretch everything out. So hopefully that's all making sense. And like everything else, though, going to get into show some other videos and all that. And hopefully I'll be back soon. For that, I want to say barak atha yahawah, barak atha yahawashi, bahasham quadash, wa abba. Barak atham, Jehovah elect. Shalom.
And tensions are again escalating between the United States and Turkey. This as Ankara threatens to revoke access to a vital U.S. airbase if Washington follows through with threats of sanctions. RT's Rachel Blevins is joining us live from the newsroom with the latest details to this. Rachel?
Well, Manila, Turkey is now firing back after U.S. senators showed support for legislation that would hit Washington's NATO ally with sanctions over its recent military offensive in Syria and its purchase of Russia's S-400 defense system. In an interview, Turkish President Erdogan threatened to cut off Washington's access to one of Turkey's most vital air bases, saying it would be justified if the U.S. moves forward with sanctions.
If it needs to be closed, we'll close Incirlik. If it needs to be closed, we'll close Kurachik. The whole issue is, in the event measures like sanctions against us are carried out, we will respond in the necessary way within the framework of reciprocity.
The airbase Erdogan is referring to has been used recently by the U.S. for the wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria, and it currently hosts around 5,000 American troops and 50 of Washington's nuclear bombs. In response to the warning that Turkey could cut off access to the U.S., Defense Secretary Mark Esper questioned whether the NATO member would be acting in the best interest of the alliance.
I think the issue here is once again, what is Turkey's direction with regard to the NATO alliance and the actions they're taking on any number of issues that I've mentioned in the past, whether it's the S-400.
Now, Turkey's warning comes in response to legislation in the U.S. that could hit Ankara with a new round of sanctions. Last week, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee voted 18-4 to support a bill that includes measures condemning their NATO ally. Although the bill has yet to be signed into law, the House of Representatives passed its own version of legislation to enact sanctions against Turkey back in October. It specifically cited Ankara's attempted military offensive into northeastern Syria, targeting Kurdish forces. Now, while Turkey labels the Kurds as a terrorist group, they have been one of Washington's main allies in the fight against ISIS, and members of Congress have argued they deserve full support from the U.S., despite the war never receiving congressional approval to begin with. And even though negotiations with Russia led to Turkey's decisions to pull back its military offensive in Syria, the ties between Ankara and Moscow have also received complaints from the U.S. after Turkey followed through on plans to purchase the Russian S-400 defense system earlier this year. Now, Manila, despite repeated threats from U.S. officials that Turkey should not buy and now should not use the S-400, Turkey has yet to fully comply with Washington's wishes.
But now, Rachel, another issue between the two allies has been the United States' position on the Armenian genocide. What's the deal with that?
Well, the State Department said today that the White House has no plans to recognize the Armenian genocide, despite resolutions passing in both the House and Senate. Last month, the House passed a resolution to recognize the killing of more than 1.5 million Armenians by the Ottoman Empire more than 100 years ago as genocide. While the Senate passed its own version with a unanimous vote last week, Trump has refrained from showing support. And Turkey has been very vocal in its criticism of this move, and Erdogan is now threatening to respond by recognizing the killing of Native Americans by European settlers as genocide, calling it a shameful moment in U.S. history. Reporting in the newsroom, Rachel Blevins, RT.
The United States has threatened Iran with what it called a decisive response if American interests are harmed in Iraq. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said his country will also respond to any attacks by Iran against U.S. allies. He blamed what he called Iran's proxies for a rocket attack at an Iraqi military base near Baghdad International Airport on Monday. Several Iraqi soldiers were wounded in the attack at the base that also housed a small number of American troops. Washington has blamed Tehran for similar incidents in the past few months. Iran denies conducting any military activity in Iraq. Iran says its presence is limited to an advisory mission aimed at bolstering Iraq's anti-terror campaign. Jason Unruhe is a political commentator joining us out of Ontario. Jason, welcome. What do you make of this Pompeo statement? Many would say that the United States, with its military presence in Iraq, is a major source of instability in the country.
Essentially, the United States feels that they're losing control of the country that they had invaded and murdered 1.5 million people to try to gain control of. They set up a puppet government there who has since been removed, and the actions of not only the Iraqi people but the Iraqi government of the last several years has been to move away or try to move away from U.S. control. Essentially, they don't want to be under the thumb of U.S. imperialism, and the remaining U.S. soldiers in the country, who are nothing more than a bane on the existence of the Iraqis, who continue to still carry out the occasional crime on them, etc., is a very sore spot for a lot of people that are just trying to live their lives. Now, the United States has been a very destabilizing force, and if you are a destabilizing force in someone's country long enough, they're going to retaliate against you, even if it is in a very minimal way, just like this. I mean, the United States is raging angry at a rocket attack against their base while they are the butchers that have murdered 1.5 million people inside of the country. Essentially, Iraq is moving away from U.S. influence and trying more allying with more anti-imperialist countries in the region like Iran. They have a shared interest in opposing Saudi and Israeli-led aggression, U.S. imperialist control, and they're working together. This is by no means some kind of conspiracy or some attempt to attack America, as they are alleging. Now, the United States is just claiming that Iran is behind this in order to put diplomatic pressure on the country, because this is what they have been doing since they unlawfully withdrew from the JCPOA agreement and repeatedly threatened Iran with military actions. But as we saw with the Millennium Challenge, the war games exercise, the simulation that was carried out in 2002, it was clear that the United States could not actually defeat Iran in a war, and this is probably more so now with the enhanced missile technology that has come along since then. So the United States is trying to blame, is essentially trying to use their own actions, their own patterns of causing instability, the anger that people have in Iraq towards the United States, and trying to project that onto Iran in order to try to undermine the relationship between the two countries. The United States has not gotten the message that nobody wants to deal with them anymore. The countries that they have murdered and subjugated for more than a century have had enough of what they are doing, and that they are going to ally together whether the United States likes it or not. They know they can't afford another invasion of Iraq, not politically, not economically, or what have you. It's not something that could be done. So rather than just admit that they're losing influence inside the country, which they rightfully should, they've decided to turn the speech against Iran and try to blame them and try to allege some kind of conspiracy.
Now, many in Iraq are asking, what is the United States doing in the country in the first place? You've got a U.S. embassy in Baghdad, which is manned by some 10,000 American troops. I mean, that's unprecedented around the world. So Iraqis still feel that the United States is an occupying power. What is the U.S. military doing in Iraq?
Well, the U.S. is still inside of Iraq because they're losing influence. They have 10,000 people watching their embassy because they need 10,000 people watching their embassy, because the Iraqi people, not even so much the government, but the everyday person who has to live under the devastating consequences of which the country has not yet even recovered from as a result of the U.S. war. I think it's very clear that this is all about the United States stealing the oil of the country. Even recently, Donald Trump even cut any kind of entire humanitarian pretext, or even kind of the usual lies they use to give to justify imperialism, by simply sending U.S. troops into Syria just straight for the oil fields. They didn't even give a lie to justify it. And I think that this is the same thing here, but they're being a little bit more diplomatic about it because they still have the entire history of the justification for invading Iraq on the basis of trying to get rid of weapons of mass destruction, which proved that did not exist. And once it was obvious that they did not exist, it became about defeating the dictatorship of Saddam Hussein, when this whole thing from the beginning was never about the Iraqi people, was never about weapons of mass destruction. This was about stealing and plundering the country to begin with. And
finally, Jason, going back to the incident itself, no one has claimed responsibility. Iraqi forces there in Iraq, in the country, would say that should they conduct such an incident, or should they conduct an attack on American troops, according to Iraqi commanders, they say they're not afraid or embarrassed to claim responsibility for such an attack. But in this case, no one's really claimed any responsibility. Similar incidents that we've seen in the past with these could be homemade rockets targeting targeting the Americans, or targeting Baghdad. Who knows who's conducting the attacks? My question to you is, Iraqi forces, I don't believe, would be shy to say that they would be behind such an attack, but they haven't claimed responsibility.
It does seem very strange that nobody would take responsibility for this. If it were, any kind of known resistance group, they would very probably step forward and say it was them and take credit for what they've done. I think that this is going to require an investigation to find out who it is. I would not be surprised if this was not any kind of particularly organized group, if not a group of people who are possibly even a new burgeoning insurgency against the United States continued occupation of the country. It's hard to make any estimations about what's going on when there's no information available at the time. However, the United States still feels that no information is all they need to blame Iran for the actions.
Could it possibly be a different power that is trying to stir some kind of tension in the region, considering the current unrest in the country?
I would not be surprised if that were the case. Given the current political climate inside of Iraq, there very well could be interested parties that would take this as an opportunity to try to destabilize the system further. It could be the Islamic State, it could be Al-Qaeda, it could be a previously unknown group. The fact is, this is kind of throwing a match into a room filled with a lot of explosive powder. Somebody is clearly trying to set something off by doing so, and for all we know, it could even be a false flag attack, for all we know. But we don't really have a lot of information. But it seems very likely there could be someone who's trying to deliberately cause more instability.
And as is the norm these days, not much evidence, or no evidence at all, when it comes to US allegations against Iran. Jason Unruh, political commentator, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
In late 2019, photos and footage showing Russia's Uran-9 combat robot deployed in Syria appeared online. They became a rare visual evidence of the Uran-9 combat deployment in the war-torn country, which, according to official sources, took place in 2018. The Uran-9 multi-purpose unmanned ground combat vehicle was officially unveiled by Russian military equipment manufacturer JSC 766 UPTK during the Army 2016 International Military Technical Forum in Russia in September 2016. The vehicle is designed to provide remote reconnaissance and fire support to a variety of tasks conducted by the counter-terrorism, reconnaissance and military units in urban environments. The Uran-9 can be used fully autonomously on a predefined road or manually operated by one man from a truck control station or via a small backpack control station. Back in 2016, the Uran-9 was armed with a 30mm Shapunov 2A72 automatic cannon, 4 ready-to-launch 9M121 Ataka, NATO reporting name Spiral 2, anti-tank guided missiles, ATGM, 6 ready-to-launch Shmel-M reactive flamethrowers, and a 7.62mm Kalashnikov PKT-PKTM coaxial machine gun mounted to the left side of the main armament. The Uran-9 can also be armed with 4 Igla surface-to-air missiles. There are 2 Ataka missile launchers and 3 Shmel-M on each side of the turret. The Ataka missile has an operational range from 400 meters to 6 kilometers and is capable of penetrating armor to a depth of 800 millimeters behind explosive reactive armor (ERA). The Uran-9 unmanned ground combat vehicle has the ability to resist firing of small arms ammunition and shell splinters. The steel armor plates of the hull offer protection for the vehicle suspension. The robotic system is equipped with various remote-controlled sensor modules, such as laser warning system and electro-optic and thermal imaging cameras. It has an onboard fire control system comprised of automatic target detection, identification and tracking devices, as well as a ballistic computer. The systems are able to detect and track targets at a distance of up to 6 kilometers during the day and 3 kilometers during the night. The Uran-9 has 2 operation modes, autonomous and manual. In autonomous, it can automatically identify, detect, track and combat enemy targets based on the pre-programmed path set by the operator. The Uran-9 robot is manually controlled by a single operator from a mobile command and control station mounted on a 6x6 tactical truck from a safe distance of 3 kilometers. The Uran-9 is powered by a diesel-electric power source, which provides a maximum speed of 35 km an hour on a highway and a maximum speed of 25 km an hour cross-country. In off-road conditions, it moves slowly at only 10 km an hour. The robot's tracked chassis offers increased cross-country mobility. The average specific ground pressure is 0.6 kg per square meter. The Uran-9 was commissioned in the Russian Armed Forces in January 2019, whereas it was tested in Syria in 2018. It furthermore was used during the Vostok 2018 military exercise. In June 2018, RIA Novosti reported that some shortcomings in the combat capability of the Uran-9 were established while it was being used in Syria. Military experts discovered flaws in the control, mobility, firepower, intelligence and surveillance functions of the robot. In addition, with the independent movement of Uran-9, a low reliability of the running gear, track rollers and guide rollers, as well as suspension springs, were discovered. The robot also showed the unstable operation of a 30mm automatic gun, untimely triggering of the start circuits, and the failure of the thermal imaging channel of the optical sighting station. In April 2019, Interfax cited the Deputy Chief of the General Staff of the RF Armed Forces, Chairman of the Military Scientific Committee of the Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Igor Markoshev, who said that the deficiencies in the robot were all removed by the development team. In 2019, there were more issues with the Uran-9. It allegedly had problems with losing connection to the command post. Unlike flying drones, the control signal of a radio-controlled machine can be lost when passing through mountains, buildings and other objects. During tests in Syria, this led to a loss of the signal approximately 17 times for 1 minute, and twice the connection with the combat robot was lost for an hour and a half. Reportedly, problems with rollers and suspension springs may occur in the Uran 9's undercarriage, which is why the robot needs frequent repairs and cannot be used for a long time. But the biggest problem remains that the remote control system reportedly works at a distance of no more than 300 to 400 meters instead of the promised 3 kilometers. Upwards of 20 units of the Uran 9 have been constructed as of December 2019, and the deployment in Syria was generally regarded as positive and successful. Even if the reports of the issues are true, they can be rectified in short-term development. There is no breakthrough in the development and deployment of unmanned systems. Nonetheless, the approach demonstrated by the Russian armed forces is interesting because the Russian side works on the development and deployment of not separate robotic systems, but rather groups of robotic systems controlled by a unified control system within a single intelligent network. The composition of these groups can be adapted depending on tasks that they had to achieve on the battlefield. Furthermore, significant efforts were made and some successes were already achieved in the task of allowing these robotic systems to operate autonomously within the group to fulfill the assigned task. This is the first step on a long road of creating a swarm of fully autonomous robotic systems that can perform assigned tasks without a direct involvement of operators. The Kungas robotic complex and the Ochotnik heavy unmanned aerial vehicle are the most vocal examples of this approach. Another point is the functionalism of the Russian projects. Instead of pushing ahead military robot dogs or tiny combat drones, all these directions have apparent issues, taking into account the current technological progress. The Russian military chose straightforward and effective decisions employing relatively large tracked platforms that do not require non-existing engineering solutions. This allowed Moscow to focus on what really matters, the employment of robotic systems in combat conditions and the development of their fully autonomous solutions.
All right, real quick, shalom, giving all the praise, honor, and glory to yahawah, bahasham, yahawashi, bahasham, quadash. Double honor to our apostles and elders of great millstone that rule well. Peace and blessings to the elect. All right, I'm the brother Zion, and I just want to briefly speak on, people, set up oppositions, people that are against the prophets, people that are set up to demonize the prophets, okay? Because you actually have oppositions out there and people out there that that's actually their job, is to demonize us and make us look as bad as possible, and what inspired this video is I was watching Yashawamba earlier from Dallas, and he did a video on how Vocab Malone, the Edomite, is basically doing kind of like a documentary thing, or he's gonna come out with some type of documentary, which we can see it, about quote unquote one West Hebrew Israelites. Anytime I speak personally, I speak on the behalf of Great Millstone, starting with our apostles and elders on down, because we have the truth here, and yeah, you have many other Israelite groups that claim they have the truth, but their work show differently. Now, anyway, going back into the topic of the video, you're gonna have people that come up against us. You're gonna have people that's gonna demonize us, and we have to expect it. But the point is, you're only adding fuel to the fire, okay? Trying to demonize us is only adding fuel to the fire, okay? Because anytime you advertise this truth, rather it's in a positive way or rather it's in a dark way, you're adding fuel to the fire, you know. Whether you believe it or not, you're only making the truth grow more than what it is. You know, it's kind of like when you fan a wildfire. When you fan a fire, it gets worse, it gets bigger, it gets stronger, it gets more powerful. Okay, and understand that this thing is not of men. Okay, what you see brothers teaching around the world on the four corners of the earth, this is actually an act of the Most High God, and man cannot stop it. Especially you Edomites, man. You can't stop this thing. All right. So, hey, man, brothers, like I said, man, we just got to continue to buckle down. And also, you know, I want to read this in Matthew 10 because these type of things are going to happen. All right. Now, this was after yahawashi sent his disciples out, told them not to go into the way of the Gentiles, you know, go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, preach saying the kingdom of heaven is at hand. I want to start at verse 10. I want to get to the key point, Matthew 10 and 10. All right, so yahawashi said, Salakia, verse 9, provide neither gold nor silver, nor brass in your purses, nor scrip for your journey, neither two coats, neither shoes, nor yet staves. For the workman is worthy of his meat. And into whatever city or town ye shall enter, inquire who in it is worthy, and there abide till ye go thence. And when ye come into an house, salute it. And if the house be worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it be not worthy, let your peace return unto you. And whosoever shall not receive you, nor hear your words, when ye depart out of that house or city, shake the dust off your feet. For verily I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day for judgment than for that city. All right, now here's the point. This is what I want to get to. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Okay, and that's what we are. We're harmless as doves, man. The only thing that we have is this spiritual sword, which is the Holy Scriptures. And this is what's hurting the people. The elites, all right? Different Edomites that's on top. Okay? Even low-level Edomites, man. All right? Verse 17, but beware of men. Okay? Beware of men. For they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues. And ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. So you may be brought before certain governors and kings of your states. All right. Hell, man, you might be on a certain news station on TV. They might have a damn terrorist. This guy's a terrorist. You might be a headliner. But it's all for the sake of the Lord. You know, the Lord said they shall bring false accusations against you for my name's sake, roughly paraphrasing. But when they deliver you up, okay, when you in their custody and they deliver you up, take no thought how or what ye shall speak. For it shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak. So the Lord is going to put the Spirit on you what to say. The same way the Lord is doing it now. He's putting the Spirit on us now what to say when we go out there on the streets. They like to say these are our words, but these are really the words of yahawah, bahasham, yahawashi. Okay? We're just telling you what the Lord is saying. It says, Salakia, for it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father, which speaketh in you. Okay? It is the Spirit of your Father that speaketh in you. So be trustworthy in yahawah, bahasham, yahawashi. And like I said, no matter what these devils try to do, man, they're only going to add fuel to the fire. This thing is only going to get more stronger until yahawah, bahasham, yahawashi decides to come back and do his thing. But you better know that these are the prophecies that's playing out on the planet Earth, man. All right? The Lord sent us out on the streets. to teach. Let's get that. You know, they like to say we're a hate group and we're this and we're that, and you know, like I said, they're not going to say any positive. They're not going to report any positive things that we say. Jeremiah chapter 7 verse 25. That's one of my favorite scriptures. Since the day that your fathers came forth out of the land of Egypt unto this day, I have even sent unto you all my servants the prophets, daily rising up early and sending them. So the Lord have sent us on the highways and the byways. Okay? And this is going out to you high level Edomites out there. You know this is prophecy being fulfilled. But you have lower level Edomites that you set up to try to stop this thing. Guys like Vocab Malone and various others. You know? It says, yet they hearken not unto me, nor incline their ear, but hardened their neck. They did worse than their fathers. Alright? So you got a lot of our people that's lost in the sauce, man. You know? But the point is, the Lord sent us out there, man. Alright? You know, so you can call us what you want, say what you want. You can call us racist, you know, bigots, whatever you want to call us, man. Just know that prophecy is being fulfilled, and it ain't nothing you can do to stop this thing. Alright? Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 4. Then the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. And the same thing the Lord Hamashiach did, Yahawah did with Jeremiah, he did with us. Now it may be hard for you devils to believe that, because in your mindset you're like, well, how you know, you guys are just niggas, man. You ain't prophets, you just niggas. But believe it or not, we have the spirit and power of Yahawah behind us. You see that we have the doctrine of the Lord. That's why a lot of these people are awed at our doctrine, because it's so powerful. And any other doctrine that comes up against this doctrine gets hewn down, man. Why? Because the Lord sanctified us and made us a prophets unto the nations, just like he did Jeremiah. Let's keep reading. Then said I, Lord power, behold, I cannot speak, for I am a child. But the Lord said unto me, say not I am a child, for thou shalt go to all that I shall send thee, and whatsoever I command thee, thou shalt speak. All right? So the Lord is commanding us to say these things, man. You devils can't twist our words, man. You can try to, but ultimately it's Yahawah ordaining us to speak. Matter of fact, I got to get that. Gotta just throw it in there to pop up. Beautiful. Luke chapter 21 and verse 15. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. For I will give you a mouth of wisdom, a mouth and wisdom, which your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. So it's nothing that our enemies can do, man. It's nothing y'all can do. Alright, the Lord gave us this word, man. The Lord said, I shall, verse 7, but the Lord said unto me, say not I am a child, for thou shalt go to all that I shall send thee. And who did the Lord send us to? Well, primarily, he sent us to the elect of the nation of Israel to go seek them out, but he also made us a prophet unto the nations. Alright, we got to go out and find the elect. Okay, but also at the same time, we give you other nations your judgment, and you can't take it. It's too hot. You know, you can't take it. We telling you Edomites that you're going into slavery, which is according to the Bible. We tell you America's going to be destroyed, which is according to the Bible. We tell you that the Israelites are going to rule, which is according to the Bible. But all these things you try to sweep under the rug, man. You don't want to deal with the truth of the Holy Scriptures, because really when it comes down to it, it's not for you. Verse 8, the Lord said, be not afraid of their faces, for I am with thee to deliver thee, saith the Lord. Alright? So we're not afraid of you devils. We're not afraid of our own people because they come up against us too. But more importantly, we're not afraid of anybody, man. The Lord ordained us just like he ordained Jeremiah not to be afraid. Okay? Now let's finish off with Jeremiah 28:8. Alright? I'm kind of short on time right now, you know. But as you brothers know, I like to get straight to the point. Alright? Let's get straight to the point with these epistles, man. Alright? Jeremiah 28:8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and of great kingdoms. And that's what you see the true men of the Lord out there doing today. But they'll say you're a hate group because you're saying that you're going to be above this people. Or you're saying that this particular sect of people is going to go into slavery, which we can read it all out the Holy Scriptures. Yes, America's going to be destroyed by fire. Read Revelation 17. Read Revelation 18. Read Isaiah 13. Read Isaiah 34. Read the precepts. Read Jeremiah 50. Jeremiah 51. It's all in the Scriptures, man. But Esau is the master of deception. So what is he going to try to do? You know, cook up some wickedness and make you look like a damn fool. But it's all for the sake of yahawah, bahasham, yahawashi. And at the end of the day, it's beautiful, man. So we're doing what Jeremiah 28:8 says, man. Just like our ancient forefathers did. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and of great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence, which they would call that hate in today's Babylon the Great. Here it is, Esau can run around and do all this wickedness, but as soon as you stand up for something, you're the worst. So like I said, man, it's nothing you devils can do. You're getting ready to go down, man. Just go ahead and make your move. So yahawashi can, you know, come do his thing, man. Anyway, with that, I hope this was edifying. Like I said, man, that demonizing us is only adding fuel to the fire. That's all it's doing. That's all it's doing, man. Alright, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to yahawah, bahasham, yahawashi, bahasham, quadash. Double honor to our apostles and elders of great millstone that rule well. Saluting the elect of the nation of Israel. Until the next lesson, I say shalom.
Hey, go ahead.
Shalom. Yeah, we're in the car, and we're doing the video, and we're going to title it, The Romans Are the Descendants of Esau, or the Edomites. Now what we did was we went to Google and we typed in the Roman Empire, Edomites, and what came up was, what's the name on the site?
The Torah.
The Torah?
Esau, the ancestor of Rome.
Okay, this is from the Torah, so these are so-called Jews. Because many, I don't know about all of them, but many so-called Jewish rabbis and scholars, they say that the people of the Roman Empire, meaning white people, as we all know, so-called white people, that they descended from the Edomites. So if those Roman white people are actually Edomites, who is ruling today? The Edomites. And you don't want to, admit to that, Esau. Talking about anti-Semitic against these Jewish people. First of all, you're not Jews. You're Jews in the fact that you converted to Judaism through a Jake named Hyrcanus, or what you use,
John
Hyrcanus, which he was descended from the Maccabean family. You call yourself Hasidim, which you're trying to say Hasmonean. And the Hasmonean dynasty was the dynasty during the period of the Maccabees, man. You ain't Maccabean.
Right.
You know, you're not Hasmonean.
You're Idumean.
You're Idumean. Anyway, we're gonna read the article, and if any scriptures come to mind, we'll throw them scriptures up in here.
The Torah.com, Esau, the ancestor of Rome. In the Bible, Esau is the ancestor of the Edomites who live in on Mount Seir, southwest of Judah. So how did the rabbis come to
Because you can
associate?
jump around like the house of pain.
Con.
You know.
So how did the rabbis associate Esau and Edom with Rome? Two main factors are at work here: Christianity and Herod, which shows that these individuals don't know. They don't know the scriptures, and how could a nation be in one place and then end up in another place? The Israelites were scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Jumping down to the part where it says Edom and Rome. This basic sketch of the relationship between the polities of Israel, Judah, Judea, and Edom, Idumea, during the biblical and Second Temple periods, indicates that Edom was a polity that rules from the Mount Seir area, from Wadi al-Hassa, southeast of the Dead Sea, in modern-day Jordan and southward, eventually extending westward to Ashkelon on the Mediterranean coast and northward.
That's why you got people saying that Edomites are actually like Arabs, you know, Arabic type people, because they figured that they remain, you know, in that land, which just like the Israelites are scattered throughout the whole world, a lot of these other nations are scattered throughout the whole world. And damn sure Esau.
Yeah.
And northward up to Hebron in the Second Temple period. And yet Rabbinic Midrash associates Esau and Edom with a completely different geographical area, the city of Rome in the Italian peninsula, and speaks as if Romans are all Edomites.
That's from a rabbi, man. Read that again.
It says, and yet Rabbinic Midrash associates Esau and Edom with a completely different geographical area, the city of Rome in the Italian peninsula. And when you go back to the history on what's his name, Haman, the scriptures speak about Haman being a Macedonian, and we know that Philip of Macedon and Alexander the Greek were in those areas, and that's where Esau took over so-called Europe from. That's where they actually got up into that area.
Yes, Alexander was born in Cyprus, which was Kittim at that time, which is the island under the boot of Italy. Italy looks like a boot, but it's nothing but a long peninsula.
So it says, and yet Rabbinic Midrash associates Esau and Edom with a completely different geographical area, the city of Rome in the Italian peninsula, and speaks as if Romans are all Edomites. How did this develop? I believe that the two...
Which make you so-called Jews a bunch of Edomites, because you were in bed with the Romans, man. What do you think the Herodians were? They were so-called Jews. They were actually Edomites. When you go back to Herod the Great Father, which was Antipater, he married into the Maccabees, and that's what you're the ultimate culture vultures, man.
Glad TV. I believe that the two main factors were at work here, Christianity and Herod. To understand the development of this rabbinic interpretation of Esau and Edom, we need to look at a parallel process of allegorizing Esau, which begins with the Jewish Christ-believing homileticist Paul of Tarsus. Early Christian readings of the Jacob-Esau metaphor. In his epistle to the Romans, Paul reminds his readers that the Most High chose Isaac and not Ishmael among Abraham's sons, because Isaac was the child of the promise, which is true, and not just a child of the flesh. Already in his epistle to the Galatians, Paul characterized the opponents as Ishmael, a point implied at the beginning of Romans 9 as well. After describing how the Most High chose Isaac, Paul writes that the Most High similarly chose Jacob, Romans 9:10-13. When she, Rebekah, had conceived children by one husband, our ancestor Isaac, even before they had been born or had done anything good or bad, so that the Most High's purpose of election might continue, not by works but by his call. This is a different version. She was told...
It says it's pretty much the same thing. In other words, the Most High chose Jacob over Esau before they even did anything. So, hey, it's not about how the works that you do. It's who the Most High chose. And that's the Most High. You can't argue with the Most High, because the Most High squash you like a pinche bug that you are.
That's right.
That's all they could do. You argue with the Most High, man. You stomp your ass.
Yeah, like the Apostle Paul said, whoever resisted his will.
That's it.
Whoever resisted his will.
The answer to that is vocab Malone.
Yeah.
And others. Et al.
Et al, yep.
Et al.
Defendants.
Look that up. Go ahead.
She was told, Genesis 25:23, the elder shall serve the younger, as it is written, Malachi 1:3, I have loved Jacob, but I have hated Esau. By tying the choice of Jacob to the choice of Isaac, Paul implies, but does not state outright, that his followers should be identified with Jacob and his opponents should be identified with Esau. Then they got some here about the epistles of Barnabas.
So is that all the information we need?
Can
we close it, or is there more?
Pretty much looks.
Pretty much it, cause
yeah, because it goes into
it goes into
other history.
Yeah, it goes into something.
And so,
else.
In closing, look, man, you know, vocab Malone talking about Esau was done away with. How in the hell can Esau be done away with when this movie is still playing? You know? That don't make no sense, man. Esau is done away with, man. You know how many times Esau and the word Edom is mentioned in the scriptures, man?
Yeah. You got a prophecy in the book of Isaiah, 63rd chapter, where it says, it speaks of the Lord, who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Bozrah? That prophecy hasn't even happened yet, because that's going to happen when yahawashi comes back and delivers his elect.
you gotta prove when did that happen.
Yeah, when did that happen? Yeah, that prophecy hasn't happened yet in Isaiah 63rd chapter, and it specifically speaks of Edom. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Bozrah? It's a metaphor for yahawashi coming back and destroying the society, which is controlled by Esau Edom, the so-called white man. So
yeah, because if Jacob's not in the power seat, then who's in the power? One of the sons of Noah have to be in the power seat.
Absolutely.
So who is it? It's Esau, the Edomites. Anyway, with that, we're going to say shalom and it's on to the next one.
Shalom. Shalom. Hold on.